To be memorable. That is the theme. Being memorable. So I watched a couple of YouTube videos before this because I thought about this over the weekend. I was thinking to myself, you know, Memorial Day's coming up. I remember one of the best compliments I've ever gotten from a manager of mine when he shadowed me for a day. He went with me to all my doctor's offices, my normal call pattern, and he's like, well, I'll tell you one thing about Ralph. He's memorable. And I thought that was like the best compliment I've ever gotten in my life. And I realized something, he's right. And I don't say this to toot my own horn, I say this as a matter of importance for salespeople. Okay, this is 100% one of the best and most important things that you could really be as a salesperson. Especially if you have recurring business like coffee, right? Because you got to show up there again, right? Being memorable truly is one of the things that we need to think about before we go into a place. Now, the holiday is Memorial Day. What are we memorializing? Who are we memorializing?
Fallen soldiers.
Thank you, Tommy. Somebody's a patriot in the room. Fallen soldiers, right? We've lost thousands, hundreds of thousands of men and women over the years to the wars that have been fought. And on Memorial Day, we pause, we don't work, we don't do anything, maybe we barbecue, we have some fun usually, but if we're really serious about it, we're really stopping to pause and think about these men and women, right? Why are they memorable? I mean, let's be literal here for a second.
They gave up their lives.
They gave their lives. Now, we can't name all of them necessarily. We may have somebody in our families that have been lost, you know, and so we especially remember those people. We may have some people in our families who have at least fought and not died necessarily in a war, but we still kind of remember them in a way because they made this sacrifice. What sacrifice, or how are we standing out? How are we to be remembered by an office that we just left? When our time comes, how are we going to be remembered? Much bigger question. Not going to cover that here today per se, but that may be something you want to be thinking about personally, right? What legacy are you going to leave? How are you going to be remembered in life? These are things that we should all be thinking about on a regular basis, frankly, because life is short. But meeting with a client, meeting with a prospect, it is so valuable and so important to be remembered by that person. I bought flowers yesterday for all the mothers. I actually went Saturday. I went to this beautiful flower shop near my house, and I only been in there once before on Valentine's Day, so it wasn't that long ago. But I walked in there, and the woman said to me, "Coffee and water, right?" Of course, me, they had an espresso machine. Started talking about water, started talking about everything, right? 10 minutes. Now I come back months later. This woman sees how many customers in between, but she remembers me, right? And I remember something. There's a couple of key attributes to being memorable, right? Actually making great eye contact is one of them. I'm going to write this down. Eye contact is really one of them. So I was looking at her as I spoke. When she spoke, I was also an active listener. I can tell who's listening and who's not when I give a talk. Usually a pen and pad will be a great way to show that, right? Let's do eye contact. All right. We got active listening. Right? Demonstrating that you are listening, taking notes, making good eye contact is one of them. Also, repeating back words that you've heard them say. You guys have heard me say this before too. Shows you that they've said something like, we would do this, but we've got a lot going on with construction right now. I hear that you got a lot going on with construction right now. Repeating back the words that you've just heard them said and rephrasing it or restating it in a sentence is active listening. There's multiple parts to active listening, and we could spend a whole lesson on just that, truly. And what will lower relationship tension more than anything, besides empathy, is active listening, right? But if you're making good eye contact and you're an active listener, also, smile. Yes, bring in the sunshine, right? Now, everybody knows that smiling is a disarming, non-threatening methodology for especially salespeople to try to, bring tension down, etc. But there are for real smiles, and then there are fake smiles. Hey, Jessica. Good morning. I was wondering why I didn't see you in TV land. So, see, Jessica does that really well too, right? Not for nothing. You just came in right on cue. We're talking about smiling. Have a seat right there. I'm putting you on the spot right away. What was your nickname amongst your friends?
Sunshine.
Sunshine, right? She's called Sunshine, right? And everybody who's gotten to know Jessica can kind of tell why, right? She's a happy, bubbly, smiley, right? What does that do, though, to you? Forget about her for a second. What does that do to you when you see somebody like her who's smiling and happy and excitable and bringing in the sunshine, so to speak? What does that do to your brain?
You want to smile right back?
Kinda, right? You're a little bit more at ease, right? Let's just be literal here for a second. There's an exercise that we're trying to do because what we're actually doing is we're putting ourselves in the shoes of the people we're trying to sell to, right? When we walk in a room, how much self-awareness do you have that you say to myself, what does this person see when they see me? How do I make them feel, right? Having a sense of that literally can make the difference in how memorable you are, how likable you are, and how much trust, essentially, at the bottom line, can you carry with a person. If you come in aggressive, threatening, kind of ticked off looking, you soaked from the rain, like, who's going to want to deal with you, right? Nobody. We ain't got time for that. There's a million people out there, and everybody's knocking at this person's door. How do we stand out? How do we differentiate ourselves? So we know when we're in conversation, having good eye contact, active listening, meaning taking notes, repeating back things that you've heard the person say to you. Smiling big, though, is something that can be very disarming. Sincerely, though. So I was getting at the point where there's genuine smiles and then there's the bullshit smiles, right? We all kind of know it. And it actually has to do with your facial expressions below your eye line, right? So if you're smiling and you're happy to be here, your cheeks are going to come up, you're going to squint a little, right? If you're just like faking it, though, show me, Jurgen. Show me, Jurgen. I always do. Well, I made him smile for real, though, right? Now you see the difference. And then he can give you the fake smile, which is, right. Now you see, he tried to smile there, right? You can tell that he tried to smile, right? There's a difference. I'm sorry, you guys didn't get to see Jurgen's wonderful acumen. But
no, that's okay. I'm sure it was good, and I know what you mean.
Yeah. So you know, I'm going to send you guys this video afterwards, and you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about. But the point is, we need to be sincere, right? So really, within all of this comes sincerity, right? We can't be full of it. Now, listen. Some of you guys might want to be full of it in the moment because you want to get the sale, but people see through that, right? And then what are you going to really be remembered for?
Being full of shit.
Yeah, you don't want to do that, right? Now listen, they say there's no such thing as bad publicity, right? So being remembered for maybe not being a great guy sometimes ain't the end of the world, because at least they remember you, right? But you're still trying to get trust here.
You're not going to get that phone call
right?
or return call?
Probably not. And what is trust? Again, for the 80th time.
Comfort.
Comfort. The word is comfort, right? So, like, who would you feel more comfortable with? You know, Freddy Krueger walking into a room, or Jessica, you know, who's smiling. Again, I'm using you, putting you on the spot. But sunshine versus, like, darkness, you know what I mean? Like, it seems simple, guys, and even obvious. But my whole job, essentially, with any of these lessons is to bring a lot of this stuff to the conscious level. Now, I'm going to show you guys a 2-minute speech. Not even 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes. This is Robert Downey Jr. Everybody knows who Robert Downey Jr. is, right? I'm going to have to bring you guys in on this so you can actually hear it. You guys may have to creep in a little bit yourselves. But this is memorable, right? And you tell me why this is memorable, right?
Certainly not going to thank Warner Brothers, Alan Horn, and my God, robbing off these guys. They needed me. Avatar was going to take us to the cleaners. They didn't have me. We didn't have a shot, buddy. What am I going to do? Thank Joel Silver. The guy's only restarted my career 12 times since I began it 25 years ago. I mean, I really don't want to thank my wife because I could be bussing tables at the Daily Grill right now if not for her. Jesus, what a gig that'd be. I never watched any of the award channels.
Here's commentary for 1 second.
I find them mostly boring. It's one speech into another speech into another speech, and they're all just thanking some people that I don't know. And it's really great to show gratitude and appreciation, but as a viewer, at least for me, I find it super boring. And when I look at businesses, most businesses are pretty boring. Look at one guy's website against another girl's website against another guy's website.
and they all look the same. They all kind of mold and merge into this big pile of boring crap. That's most people's companies, right? What is so memorable about you that I want to spread the word, that I'm going to remember who you are to come back and buy more from you and tell people about you, right? Robert Downey Jr. speech, you're going to love it, you're going to hate it, but you're going to remember it. And that's what I want. When I'm going to speak at events and I see the guy before me and he's doing the typical boring presentation, it actually jazzes me up. Like, I get fired up when the guy before me is super boring because I have to come and bring energy, and I know I can do it and be totally different than the guy before me. And you need to do that in your business too. And risk people hating you, risk people giving you negative comments, risk people clicking away from your website or closing your YouTube video. Because the ones who love what you stand for, who love what you're all about, they're going to be avid fans. You want people to love you or hate you, but not be forgotten. You play in that middle zone, you're boring, you're blah, you'll be forgotten. And when you're forgotten, you can't make money, you can't have an impact, you're not going to reach your goals. So do something to be memorable today, even if it's a little bit scary.
Right? So it's important that we do things or leave seeds behind that are going to stick out. People will give, you ever see a real estate agent or somebody like that will send you a package in the mail? It's the biggest, thickest thing in there, right? Because it stands out. You got 1,000 pieces of mail, junk, 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 junk. Oh, what the hell is this? I got to open this. They got you to open it, right? They got to stand out. So, how are we going to stand out? Well, appearance matters. When you open your mouth, what are you saying? Are you bringing in the sunshine into a room? Are you an active listener? Do you make good eye contact? These are some of the things that are memorable. Robert's speech to me was hysterical, right? Because he's talking about, oh, I'm not going to thank my wife, as he's thanking her, right? Right? So there's this way of like also building people up. Where's my marker? Right? Where you could build people up through humor, right? Like, if you're my friend, humor is kind of stands out on its own, but it also ties into this. Humor is very memorable. Most women, when polled, why did you marry your husband? Many of them include the fact that he made me laugh. Just part of what attracted her, right? People want to laugh. They want to have a good time, right? And if you're able to do that, you'll be that much more likable. You know, we were talking a lot about this morning in the gym. You know, you're going to ask this guy for a long-term deal, right? Why should he give you that? What are you giving him in return? Well, at the very least, you could be likable, right? At the very least. You know, at the most, you could be valuable, where you're adding value to his business. But it's hard to add value to a guy from for example. You know, somebody from, I don't know, we might be able to get him a customer. That's super valuable, right? So like the triumvirate, if you will, of sales is, can you add market share? Can you increase revenue? Or can you save money? These are the three sort of, exclamation points of what somebody would want to get out of your presentation. What's up, Steve? Right? Now, in our world, you look at this and you say, well, shit, I don't think we can really necessarily always do all that unless maybe we can save them some money. Not necessarily true. I can kind of prove how being super hydrated or even caffeinated can help boost people's jobs, their moods, their decision making, and then therefore increase your revenue. Hard to argue with that as well, because everybody knows how important and how awesome being hydrated truly is, right? Adding market share, that could be a little tough, but if you're a good networker, like some of us are in this room, Tommy Nyland, you might be able to connect people with other people that can help their bottom line. This is any one of these three things that you do, by the way, super memorable.
Just to add to that, it also has to do with how you communicate that message. So communicating how you add market share can be, I want to be in this relationship for a long time, and because of my networking, we can help you build market share because of our relationship.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean
first
that
of
it
all,
happens
but
that
before
day.
that, you have to get agreement that they want that help. Some people aren't even taking on new clients. They got all they need. So preface the fact that, first of all, they want to meet new people. Then who do they need to meet? and then say, you know what, we work in the most universal industry there is. Tell me, which industry, boosts your bottom line the most? Oh, architects. Well, I got 3 or 4 of those that are, one of them is a serious buddy of mine I could easily connect you to, if that helps, right? Oh yeah, it does, right? Yeah. How are you presenting it? That was a good point. How are you presenting the information? Makes a huge difference, right? A pitcher who has his delivery off, even slightly, is not going to throw a strike the way he wants to, right? Because he didn't lift his leg high enough, or he didn't stretch far enough, or he didn't follow through. Any one little thing in your delivery changes could change everything. You heard me say before, one word said or unsaid can make or break a deal, right? It's true. One word said or unsaid, how one word said or unsaid can make or break a deal. Heidi, how do you do?
Good morning.
Right? Makes sense? You ever, one of the most memorable guys in my last company, this guy, Hydr8. He's a millionaire right now, by the way. He's a serial entrepreneur. And it's because he had a genuine heart for people. He didn't always have his agenda top of mind. Meaning that he'd go in to meet with a doctor in an office, and he wouldn't necessarily be thinking about how he can move anchors and sutures and, pumps and devices right away. And I do this a lot too, just because I sincerely need to get to discovery, and I need to understand who I'm dealing with in order to really give them the right value equation associated. This way the deal just drops out, and that's why I have success a lot of the time. So he'd spend time really just getting to know people. Now, you don't always have the time to get to know people, but he was also very observant, right? So he'd notice, oh, the hockey puck on my desk. Oh, I play hockey too, right? He would also be the kind of guy too that went out of his way for people. He literally is famous within my company, 50 guys, he stood out. He would take time out of his day to go and help people with their job. Weirdo, right? No, he wasn't crazy. It was a long-term play. He helped some guy change one of his clients. He went and found him on the highway and changed his friggin' tire, right? Acts of service, right? You may feel like that's a waste of your time, right? Because who is this guy, whatever. But what you're doing is you're building up your own characteristics that are memorable, first of all, and likable, right? And now what? Now you change the guy's friggin' tire. That's your boy now, right? Right? That's your boy, like forever, if you want to be. If you want to be, right? I noticed I've actually lost a lot of relationships over the years just because I haven't tried to continue to follow up, right? If I'd stayed engaged, I probably would still have those like real tight relationships with some people, but thankfully I have a lot of really good relationships and I just can't keep up with all of them, especially having 3 kids. Those relationships are also important, by the way. So the point I'm making is, how can you stand out? How can we be remembered? It is so crucial because guess what? You go in, you introduce yourself, you come back in, who are you again? That sucks. That means all the work you did last time, you gotta start all over again, right? You gotta start all over again. Wouldn't it be better for you to do enough of this to stand out to people so that then when you walk in next time, oh, the water guy, yeah. That's right, I was just thinking about you. Oh, your card's right here on my desk. Anybody ever get a business card that like is extra big or like has a great material? It's like memorable. I'm not gonna throw this one out, right? Our cards are kind of like that. What's up, Georgie?
Good morning, guys.
Right, our cards have that like smooth texture. They're a little nicer, right? By the way, most of this stuff pertains to you outside people. Joe, a little different, right?
Not true. Not true.
Little different. Little different. Not saying you can't embody these things. But you can't get eye contact with somebody over the phone. You can't necessarily demonstrate that you're writing down notes to somebody who's speaking, but you can repeat back words you've heard them say.
Professionalism.
What's that?
Professionalism.
It is professionalism, but to some people it doesn't come naturally. Some people, they're trying real hard. Some people, they don't get this at all. They just go in there with their agenda and they just spew, and just pray that some shit sticks against the wall. My goal, my job every single week when I stand up here is to increase our odds, is to be card counters at the blackjack table, right? Taking these little things, raising them to the conscious level, making it so that you don't have to think about them, that's just who you become, right? And you make it a part of who you are, because there's another part of all this too. It's your uniqueness, right? Something that I can't teach, something that nobody can tell you about, What is like your signature, so to speak, right? What is your special connotation that makes you you? What flair, what thing can you leave behind that makes you and only you memorable? This stuff is all universal. And we can probably up our game on being a little bit funnier or a little bit chattier, a little bit better eye contact, a little better active listener. You know, you can definitely smile more sincerely because you should be happy about what you're doing. You're helping people for sure. And it's a nice day. You got to get out and go around. And even if this doesn't work out, I got 20 more places to go to. So I'm feeling good. You know, life is great. I'm going to come in here, and even if you're having a blue day, I'm going to bring it up. You can do all of this, right? And this, in your presentation, you could say beforehand, like, one thing I want you to remember before I even start speaking is that, you know, we are going to deliver you a higher quality product with a better service, all right? If you remember nothing else, just remember that. Start by saying that. That's a zoologic effect, right?
Right.
What is it called?
Right.
Yeah. Right before the presentation, too. And by the way, enumeration is another great thing in a presentation. This is a presentation. If you enumerate 1, 2, 3, not more than 3, that's the magic number. 3 things I want you to remember. It's, you know, it's ergonomically sound, it's economically stable, and it's, I don't know, easy to use. 3 E's, right? Or 3 P's, or whatever. Something that's going to be like bang, 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 stick it out in people's head, they remember you. That's it, they just remember you. It's that effect. I can't think of the word, zoologic or something. Some Russian dude came up with it. It's real. I will send you guys these videos when we're done. I did some research on this topic before, as you might be able to tell. But these are all things that we kind of know, right? Like, this is not... I'll figure it out. But also, again, you have to be able to answer these things for you. You have to take this stuff and paraphrase it and make it your own. I can only give you the information. I can only demonstrate it and model it myself. But that does not mean that when you walk in there, you're going to start doing all this. But I assure you people, this will take your game deeper. This will bring your game to the next level. So that, again, 80% of our business is follow-up. You need to be memorable. You need to be memorable then, no matter what. Joe is memorable on the phone. He calls people months and weeks later, and they remember, oh, yeah, that just stands out to them. They just remember that phrase because nobody's calling using that phrase. There's a uniqueness to that call, right? So they remember Joe when he follows up. Do they remember you when you follow up? When you show up there, do you walk into a room, and do they say, who are you again? Or are they saying, the coffee guy. The Coffee King. You might want to label yourself that, right? Because like Robert Downey, it's a little audacious. It stands out, almost in a negative light, because you're like kind of bringing like self-proclaimed Coffee King, but they're going to remember that shit. Yeah. And that matters. That matters, exactly. Make it your own, whatever it might be for you, right? You want to call yourself fucking Poseidon out there? Great. You're the water god. Wonderful. That's who you are. Aquaman. I'm swimming through the water. It's going to sound stupid, funny, but guess what? All of you just smiled and laughed. Every single one of you. Matters. Sticks out. You're remembered. Make sense? Jurgen?
Absolutely.
You loving it?
Poseidon.
That was a fake smile, by the way.
No, that was a real one.
I can't tell with
That was a real
you.
one.
The only human being on earth I can't read. You should play poker for a living, I swear to God. It is one of the most important things. I just really, it like literally occurred to me this weekend, like Memorial Day, being remembered. This is who we need to be. Memorable people. Because if they remember you, chances are you've already walked into a place where there's a little comfort and there's a little bit of trust already. Now it's time to kind of rehash, bring in the sunshine, be confident, bring your unique signature, and always ask small questions, right? Because you want to always invite them in. What's up, Mary?
Hi.
Polish power.
Jurgen
This
walks
makes
in,
sense.
he has a white bang.